appreciate that. You say, well, you didn't give me no scriptures to look up. That's because we're not going to do scriptures tonight. I've got a book that I had wrote while America was sleeping. So what I wanted to do tonight is I kind of want to cap a little bit of the summary of what was in there. We have not gotten to this point just this past year or 4 years or 8 years or 10 years. This is something that has been in the making for 50 to 60 years. And it's been strategic, it has been planned, and our government has known about it all this time. So don't think that this is all of a sudden where it's at, and it's all because of the past few people that's been in office. No, sir. It has been going on a long, long time. So we're going to cap some of this stuff. Can I tell you this too? And I was glad that Brother James had mentioned it because I wanted to make sure I mentioned it tonight. You say, well, we really don't have the right to get into politics. Yes, we do. I don't know who ever come up with that idea that the church shouldn't get involved in politics. But when this nation was created, the church was the politics. We're the ones that set up the goals. We're the ones that set the laws. We're the ones that set the standard. And we've allowed them to use church and state and turn it around to make it look like they got the power. We're the ones that's supposed to have the power in this. Now, the sad thing about it, the way that we are right now, is because we've elected people into our offices that has nothing to do with God and has nothing to do with the church. And you know whose fault that is? The church. The reason being is because the statistics show that at least 1/3, if not more, of church people, Christians, that claim they're worried about the way our country is going, is even going out to vote. So first thing I want to do is challenge you, get out there and vote.
Amen.
And you say, well, it's not going to matter, they're going to do what they're going to do. Let them do what they're going to do. But I believe this. I believe that God has given us the genuine right to vote. And I believe if we choose not to vote, that God's going to judge us for not doing what we were supposed to do. Because a Christian's voice needs to be heard in this government. Regardless of whether they like it or not, whether we win or not, it is our responsibility both in our election process and also in our spirit realm that we vote for what is right and what's wrong. And we've seen the ones live where they say there's not such thing as late-term abortions, and they don't fact-check that, and then you find out later on when everyone ain't listening that, oh yeah, there's quite a few states that's doing it. So it's important that we get out there and vote and at least be heard. But I'm going to read this so we can get through this real quick so we can go into our meeting. 1963, a goal of the communists, and this is where it's all coming from. They call it socialism. They call it a progressive. It's nothing but communism. That's all it amounts to. Was entered into the congressional. Listen to where this was placed. This was entered into the congressional records, which showed 45 goals of the communist plan to overthrow our country. So that means that every senator, every representative, every person in legislation knew this in 1963. So it's not new. And I'm just going to highlight some of those 45 goals. First of all is to coexist, which includes nations as well as religion. You see that going on today? All religions lead the same way. That's coexist. That's part of the communistic agenda. And also with our nations. Same party. There's no need for a border. This is a free country. No, this is my country. This is your country. It's not everyone else's country. If you want a part of this country, you come in legally. You go through the system, and you can come in here. But don't open my borders and say you're free to come in my country. I have a border. But they won't make sure that everyone can come in there. Then for our nation, now listen to this, for our nation to surrender to countries to reduce the threat of nuclear weapons. Now don't that make a whole lot of sense? And yet we're still hearing people today, let's disarm, let's disarm, let's disarm. We look like we're trying to force war on, let's disarm. Not true. For America to disarm herself to show the world how much moral value we have towards human and our desire for unity around the world. Sadly, we see that in this war right now with Israel. They're sitting there telling Israel, don't retaliate. Quit being so mean to them. Quit being so mean. They're the ones that started. They're the ones that got the hostages. They're the ones that killed the other hostages. They're the ones that's using their own people as a shield. We can't go by that stuff, but that's this communistic agenda that's been going on. to allow free trade even with countries that torment their people, or if the items sent will be used to hurt others. A good example of that is our trade with Russia. We say we're sanctioning Russia, but yet we're still buying gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of gas. They don't care about our sanctions. We're sitting there making them rich off our gas. You want to know the answer to that? Simple. God gave us gas here. Pump our own gas. Make our own supply and tell them, no, we're completely tapping off. Man, I think we're running. Number 5, to give a long-term loans to countries which uphold communist ideas and want to make the world accept it and conform to it. To give aid to all such countries, again, regardless of how they are treating their people, or even if it would help the people of the country, which is humanitarianism. That's exactly what they're pushing for now. We're seeing it all over the place. Oh, we need to give, we need to give, we need to give. And I don't want to get messed up on the political side of it, and I'm glad that we've helped Ukraine. I'm glad we've helped them. But it's a proven fact that they have used our money too for their own agendas and not for the war. And I'm sorry, but when we have people in our country that are in need, then the money that's sending over there needs to stop, and it needs to go back to our country, because again, we have a country, and we need to take our people first. But see, they're trying to make us all equal. How many countries has done that for America? Exactly. To recognize Red China and to admit them into UN. Since then, many other countries have been admitted that should not have been able to join. Like I said, this is way back now, and we've already seen a lot of this take place. To give to the UN power as the only hope for mankind, which opens up a one world government. Who has the power in their hands now? The UN. If you're not a part of them, you're in trouble. That's why everyone wants to be a part of them. Remember, if you attack one, you attack all. And we're a part of that mix. Which means if we attack Russia, then we attack all. How many agrees with that policy? You think that's godly? No, sir, it's not. Then to give the UN its own military to control all countries. The UN was started by communists in the beginning, in case you didn't know it. That was their plan to begin with. To resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party. Now we've got them in our government, pushing it. To take over one or both of the political parties of America. Does anyone have any idea what party they've already took over? Pretty much both. But definitely the Democratic Party has gone communist. 100%. Secondly, they gained the party and gained power in the party by offering the American people, get this, free stuff. People, nothing's free. First of all, it's not free because they're going to get it out of your taxes. And second of all, if they make it to where you're dependent upon them with high interest rates, with lower pay, with capping people being able to make the money that they're supposed to have and control how much money people can make, then that makes you dependent on them. And you become slaves. And I feel sorry for the lower educated people in our nation today that depends on all this free stuff, thinking that the government loves them and wants them. All they're trying to do is make us all slaves. And this is part of that agenda. To take over one of the political parties in America, for instance, our Stand in America. Or Stand for America. 13, to give Russia access to our patent office. This opened the door to all of our information on developing weapons, vaccines, and technology. You ever wonder how come when we develop something, all of a sudden the other countries got the knowledge to do it? Because it's free information that we've given them. Groups that are used to do this these are some of the people they've used to pass on this agenda. The African American Civil Rights Movement. Now, the Civil Rights Movement has some good things in it. We needed to change as a nation the way that we look at race. And I agree 100% with Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, I'm not asking for a handout. I'm just asking for an equal opportunity to be able to do what I need to do. But they have used these organizations and turned it around to try to make and force agendas that have no place in the American place. And it's not a part of equality. Now it's a part of them having power. So they're one of those groups. I believe personally Martin Luther King would roll over in his grave if he did what they've done. You say, well, I didn't like Martin. I did like him. I did like him. Was he perfect? No. Did he make mistakes? Yes. But I think his ideas were right. Like I said before, he's a bigger man than me. You sit there and throw a rock and hit me upside the head, and I'm doing a peaceful march. Buddy, it would be all I could do to not grab that rock and throw it back, but he'd just wipe his back and keep walking. And a matter of fact, the other side with, what was his name, Malcolm X, he was sitting there saying, this ain't the way, this ain't the way. And he said, this is the only way. And his base was right here. So I still like him. He didn't get everything right, but at least he knew his God. And I believe I love that little statement. He said, I've already seen the other side. I'm ready to go. Now, I may not get there when you do, but I'm ready to go. And he said that he believed that everyone, black, white, no matter, is all together. But all that's been twisted. Then the major movements in the 50s and 70s, the hippie movements and all that stuff, the free lifestyle and all that. The gay civil rights movement is a big one. The counterculture movement. The Black Lives Matter movement. That was proved to be nothing but a moneymaker for a handful of people who were Marxist. And by the way, Kamala is a Marxist. And when you look at Marxists, that's communism. All they're doing is just sitting there pulling these people in with all this false stuff. Antifa. Anyone ever heard of Antifa? You've seen it in that last election. And they talked about when Trump comes back in, then there's going to be violence again. It wasn't Trump bringing in the violence. No. It was that other party bringing them in, and they were hiring these people. So this is part of that too, and even using our medical to control as they did with COVID. Now, like I said, this was back in 1963, and they were saying we're going to use medicine like this to control the people, and they did. That was, as far as I'm concerned, I understand that that was a dangerous thing, but I'm telling you right now, that was a way for the world to see how much control they can have, and they can make us all obey. And you know what? We did. First, start by demoralizing or removing moral values from the people. Oh, everything's okay. You gotta call me a sir when I'm a girl. You got to do the opposite. You got to allow me to make like I'm a dog. That's demoralization. To sit there and say you can do anything you want and it's okay. They do this by saying things like our religion is hate speech. And they do that now, and it's going to get worse. They indoctrinate our youth into school. They've been doing that for a long time. They use social life to make us all get along. If you don't, you're a bigot or a hater. Because we make a stand on what the Bible says does not make you a hater. If God hates it, that means He's going to judge it. So the way I look at it, I'm not a hater. I'm trying to keep you from having the judgment of God or you going to hell. But we water it down because we don't want to offend nobody. I'm not planning on watering down anything. This is part of their agenda. They use people in power. They use the justice system to force people to comply. They use labor laws, like the bakery. You remember, for instance, you remember that couple that had that bakery? And that gay couple wanted them to make a cake? And they wound up shutting their bakery down and sued them and everything else? I had a question with that. If you know that bakery does not stand for that, there are other bakeries that are gay-friendly. Go to it. But yet, if it's a Christian thing, and we're trying to sue because we refuse to do it up, then we're a bigot, we're an idiot, we don't have that right. It's all part of the agenda, folks. I should have the right as an American person to have a business and say, I don't do this according to this word. I don't do this. And I shouldn't be held accountable for that because there's other places that'll take care of your needs. I'm not going to a gay bakery knowing it's a gay bakery and try to get them to cook me something about a Christian model. Because I know what they believe. Give me that same right. Give me that same freedom. After demoralization, then they start crises. COVID-19 again was used to do that. Then they go to what is called normalization. Normalization. You see this in movies when now every movie has homosexuals or gender identity to make you feel like all the world thinks that this is normal. It ain't normal. It's abnormal. There's things wrong with it. And the sad thing about it, our children are growing up thinking this is the way life's supposed to be. From there, to destabilize the country like we've seen during the time Trump was in office to stir and divide the people, this weakens our country. And it's already been said this country is more than halfway divided. We're already there. When in this phase they try to get rid of our police and military to form their own, that they can say that they're protecting the people. Remember they tried to do that? Matter of fact, the very one that's running for president now said that she's not for getting rid of the police, but 4 years ago that's what they were doing. That's what she was pushing for. Matter of fact, she was even paying to get these hoodlums out of jail. See how they lied? It's part of that agenda. They also say that people never give up their guns to keep everyone safe. They must give up their guns. No, sir. I'm going to stay safe by making sure I've got one. And a matter of fact, if I had some of them automatic weapons, I'd have them too. Because you know what the law for the guns was about? To protect ourselves from a burglar? No. It was to protect ourselves from a government that's going to try to take us over. That was the whole purpose of the gun right laws. So when they're saying take your guns, what they're saying is you take your guns, because when we come after you, we don't want no retaliation. And they're doing it. After this, they take full control with little to no resistance because everyone believes this is the way to go. You say, I don't believe all that stuff. Look up the history to every communist country and how they got that way. Every one of them was based the same way. This is an agenda that was put in 1963 because it was proven and it was made to work. And they was trying to warn our nation of what this would do if we allowed it in our nation. Instead, our politicians took and said, now we can control the people. We've been sold out by our own politicians. They take their time doing all this so no one sees it. This has been a process been going on 60 plus years now. Little step, little step, little step. How many remember way back with Gone with the Wind? One little word, and the whole nation went berserk. Christians were really throwing a fit. I can't believe they put that. Man, that's going on the airways now, a lot worse than whatever that was. But see, it started out little. That's little word. And then when you had Harriet and all them, remember, if you was a married couple and you was in the movies, you had to put one leg out. Matter of fact, first time it was just separate beds. Then they moved it in there where they stayed in the same bed, but they had to keep a leg out. And now you see what's on TV. And I ain't talking about when it's 10 o'clock at night and all the kids are supposed to be asleep. I'm talking about prime time. They're already there, folks. We've already been asleep too long. It normally takes 50 years to accomplish all this, to do the steps they take. We're well past that time. We may have already passed that time to fight to go back. I fear that we're there. We need to wake up before there is no more hope. This is just a recap of the book that I was talking about. I suggest you get a copy to read more in detail how it happens. Also, suggest you get a copy of the Communist Manifesto. You can find that online. By the way, Karl Marx was a prominent leader in this. And yes, Camilla, Adams, Skip, Maxine Waters, Omar, Alexander Cortez, all the strong supporters of this movement, as well as most of the Democratic Party. They're identified as progressive left. 98%, listen to this, 98% progressive left people in this country either identify with or lean toward the Democratic Party. 46% say they strongly identify with the party. About a third, 32%, are independents who lean toward the Democratic Party. Before you vote, make sure your party hasn't been doing or saying the things mentioned above if you want to keep our nation free. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but if you can't read the lines in between that, I feel for you. You say, well, I don't like what the other does. I don't like everything they do either. Be honest with you. But at least the other one says, I believe in God. At least the other one knows who Jesus Christ is. At least the other one gives credit to God where God needs to have the credit. At least the other one has some sort of moral values. And what we're to do as Christians, we're supposed to vote not according to what they're promising us. I don't care if they say they're going to give every one of us $1 million. If they're for abortion, if they're for this gender identity and all that stuff, they're against the Bible. And if they're against the Bible, we as Christians should be against them. Anyhow, I didn't get run off. Government didn't come in and shut me down yet. So, but anyhow, like I said, I wanted you to get that information. I wanted you to see that this is not something that's just started taking place. It's been going on. Our colleges has trained these kids, and they're indoctrinated with it so much that we are idiots. We don't understand. I've been told that by my own kid. Daddy, you're just an old-fashioned, patriotic individual, a fanatic as a Christian. No, I'm someone that loves the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm someone that loves my country, and I know if we don't go by these standards, then all of us are going to suffer and all of us are going to fail. Anyhow, I could go on and on, but it's already 6:33. So I hope you got a little something out of that. It didn't have no scripture base to it except for the fact that I believe that we are to vote. So please go out and vote. Like I said, we're going to have a meeting